Lalita? Okay, sorry for that interruption. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Lalita. I head pediatric ICU at St. John's Medical College Hospital in Bangalore. First and foremost, I thank Dr. Nitin Chawla and all the other members of the ECMS for giving me this opportunity to speak on liver injury per se. Okay, so this is going to be short. I'm sure you must have heard a series of lectures on how to manage pediatric trauma in children. Okay, so our objectives for this particular topic is to understand structure approach. 1 second, I'll go make this go off. Okay, to understand structure approach to the child with abdominal injuries, to learn how to identify serious and life-threatening abdominal injuries, and to introduce skills and equipment used for the resuscitation of a child with life-threatening abdominal injury. Particularly, my focus is on liver injury. So as we know, it's not a major part of polytrauma. Abdominal injury just accounts for 8% of traumatic injury, out of which liver, spleen are the most common solid organ injury in the abdomen, kidneys to lesser extent, and GI tract. Why abdominal trauma? Little bit highlight on abdominal trauma before I move on to liver injury. Because abdomen is called the black box. It is impossible to know what specific injuries have occurred at initial evaluation. And the key to save lives in the abdominal trauma is not to get an accurate diagnosis whether it's a liver injury or splenic injury, rather than to recognize that there is an abdominal injury. And this has been discussed time and again why children are most susceptible for abdominal trauma or trauma per se. I'm sure initial lectures would have been dealt with this, but little highlight on this. We know that stress response are different from adults. Children will be able to maintain the hemodynamic stability for a long period of time just by increasing the heart rate. Later on, they go into decomposition where the blood pressure falls and the cardiac output falls. And they have got a large surface area. And we know children come in various sizes starting from 1 month to 18 years of age. And the uniformity is not maintained. There is various vital change will be there. The size changes, the equipment, everything changes. Skin surface is very large. Hypothermia will develop rapidly, and the vicious cycle of hypothermia, DIC, metabolic acidosis, one has to resuscitate to break that cycle. Otherwise, it will be a vicious circle. Why particularly abdominal trauma? Because we know that flexible ribs, children do have flexible ribs which covers only the uppermost portion of the abdomen, and there is a thin layer of muscle, fat or fascia which provides very, very little protection to the solid organ. Pelvic is very shallow here, and the small abdomen size of the abdomen predisposes the child to have multiple injuries rather than single injuries. And when we compare to adults, here we can see that abdominal organs are closely packed. So abdominal trauma per se, it could be due to blunt or penetrating. Very rarely we do see penetrating abdominal injury, especially in children, which can cause extensive damage to viscera, resulting in massive blood loss and requiring massive transfusion protocol activation. So blunt and abdominal injury, penetrating injuries are related to the type of force and density of the tissue fluid. And the liver and spleen are the most common organ injury in the blunt abdominal trauma. So there can be various types of blunt injury like motor vehicle accident or auto or pedestrian falls. Penetrating, as I said, it is quite uncommon in children. So, but some of these things, when I was just looking at the literature search, I just found that at least it is divided into 3 patterns of injuries, which one should suspect abdominal injury in these 3 types. Something called Waddell's triad. It is by the pedestrian mechanism in a child. It's like this, and a child is hit by a motor vehicle, and especially the impact is on the abdomen, as a result of which abdominal injury can happen. The child can fall, can have a countercoup injury like traumatic brain injury, and as well as you can see the third impact. This is the first impact on the femur fracture, abdominal injury, and head injury. So all these thing component is called Waddell's triad. So once you should suspect a pedestrian mechanism in a child where the femur fracture, abdominal injury, and head injury, it forms a triad. One should look out for other fracture or injury. Lap belt complex, yes, this is especially in a motor vehicle with a seat belt injury, more so with lower diaphragm injury or duodenal injury. Solid organ injury, yes, is pretty common, more so one should look out for spinal fracture. As a part of polytrauma or traumatic brain injury, one should look out for long bone fractures in a head injury children, and as well as do a primary and secondary survey for to rule out abdominal injury. So how to assess in a child with abdominal injury? So the same thing holds good. You must have been gone through this primary survey of ABCD approach, which is same thing even in abdominal injury. Okay, where you look at for the airway, breathing, maintenance, circulation, disability, expose and completely undress this patient and see any sort of aberration, ecchymosis is present. So principles of initial assessment in abdominal injuries, one is primary survey. When you expose the abdomen, which I will be going through in subsequent slide, look out for any signs of external injury. Apply appropriate monitoring devices. Start off with basic ECG monitor or pulse oximeter monitor, and as and when need arises, you should do focus fast in children. Second thing is obtain ample history or sample history, which I am sure it should have been dealt in earlier classes, and perform a detailed secondary head-to-toe examination. I also transfer for a definitive care. So this is the key components of any initial assessment in any traumatic children, where primary survey, apply appropriate monitoring devices, get a sample history, and do secondary head-to-toe and involve multidisciplinary. If you want, if you surgeons are there, get in pediatric surgeons involved, PICU or pediatric ER emergency team, and if required, transfer for definitive care. So what are the key markers or what one should look for when there is abdominal injuries? So observe for, see on inspection, if you can see any fullness, any redness, any mark, any ecchymosis, erythema across anterior abdominal wall, because of the seat belt and the motor vehicle cohesion is highly suggestive of intra-abdominal injury, what is called IAI. And also, are there any fractures? Palpate, yes, one may be finding difficulty because most of the children will be crying, wincing. If you possible, palpate and see for any liver, spleen, or any sort of tenderness. Auscultation is where rarely comes in needy in a child with abdominal injury. So this is a seatbelt sign typical in motor vehicle accident. One should highly suspect abdominal injury. This is another picture, bicycle handlebar injury with associated pancreatic trauma. So you can very well see that there is a trauma here. There's an injury or abrasion mark due to bicycle handle. So signs and symptoms to summarize: blunt trauma or penetrating trauma. If it's blunt trauma, if a child comes with significant mechanism with high motor speed, vehicle accident or abdominal pain, or if there is some fullness in the abdomen, any discoloration, any ecchymosis, unexplained shock in a polytrauma child, handlebar injury or seatbelt injury, or if there are any signs of peritoneal signs, one should suspect abdominal injury. Of course, in a very rarely we do encounter penetrating, but you should know what are the signs we need to look for. Signs or symptoms: same, pain, bleeding, impaled object, any evidence of shock. So there's something in the literature when I was just going through any sort of prediction rule to rule out intra-abdominal injury. I saw this Pecan prediction rule. So they have looked in 12,000 children. They have looked out for these 7 variables in descending order, published in Annals of Emergency Medicine, which is applicable for all abdominal injury. So they say that the clinical prediction rule included following 7 variables in a descending order. So look for any evidence of abdominal wall trauma or seat belt sign. If the GCS is more than 13, assess GCS. Look for any abdominal tenderness, any evidence of thoracic wall trauma, any complaints of abdominal pain, any decreased breath sounds, any vomiting. If none of is there, then it is very, very, very unlikely that this child has got intra-abdominal injury. So they have, as I said, in 12,000 children with trauma, they have used this score and they have got a negative predictive value of 99.9 and sensitivity of 97%. This is one simple flow chart to identify intra-abdominal injuries. If there is any evidence of abdominal wall trauma, seat belt sign, or GCS is less than 14 with blunt abdominal trauma, yes. So 5.4% risk of IAA intervention is required. So they found 23% of children, these children had abdominal injuries or solid organ injury. If there is no abdominal tenderness, there is no thoracic wall trauma, no decreased breath sound, no vomiting, where these children are very, very low risk of having intra-abdominal injury as well as intervention. So the clinical prediction, apart from the clinical signs and symptoms, one also have to look at for some sort of laboratory evidence. If there is any increase in your liver enzymes like AST or ALT elevated, if the urine is showing routine micro UA, urine analysis showing more than 5 RBCs, abdominal tenderness is present, if the child has got low hematocrit and femur fracture, all this will indirectly indicate that this child has got intra-abdominal injury. Of course, when you this is an Western data though, hematocrit less than 30, keep in mind if the child is quite anemic, even before injury, one should not be just looking at only hematocrit of less than 30%. So coming to liver injury, because of its size and location, it's the most frequently injured when the force is applied to the abdomen, and the liver tissue is very friable, it can bleed easily, and the storage capacity is quite huge. So hepatic injury can, and it can cause profuse hemorrhage. So same signs and symptoms, upper abdominal pain and abdominal wall rigidity, spasm, guarding, there is tenderness, can be absent bowel sounds, and if the child is having any signs of hemorrhage or shock, hypovolemic shock, in a polytrauma patient, one should always suspect of solid organ injury, more so with liver and spleen. So when you are suspecting liver injury, just remember this. There are certain association along with liver injury. Approximately 80% of liver injury are associated with other abdominal injury. Within the liver, some laceration involving hepatic veins, periportal edema, port hepatitis, bile duct injuries are pretty common. Outside the liver, some retroperitoneal hematoma or hemorrhage, pulmonary contusion, rib fractures, and tension pneumothorax. These are also other association along with liver injuries. So how do one diagnose? If you are suspecting abdominal trauma or liver injury or is suspecting intra-abdominal injury, what are the diagnostic modality? So let's take one scenario here. This is an 8-year-old boy who was brought in after a car accident at 40 miles per hour. He was sitting in a back seat with the shoulder and the lap belt. On examination, his vitals were, heart rates were 88. This looks pretty okay. 88 heart rate, respiratory rate is 24. B, blood pressure shows 96 by 64. It's okay, but this child has got narrow pulse pressure, looks like. Saturations are 100% in room A. GCS is 15. He has some bruising to his lower abdomen and upper left chest with some mild tenderness. What do you do? This definitely after ABC. So this is a question needs to be answered. A second. So as you can see, this vital seems to be fairly okay. His GCS is good, but he has got this bruising. So remember that pre-can 7 variables. So GCS is good. He's got a C. You're sitting at the back seat. He's got a seat belt injury. Just a second. Gaurav, I'm in class, Gaurav. I'll call you. Sorry for that. So these are the options. Send labs A, admit and observe B, C, obtain abdomen pelvic CT with pure contrast, D, obtain abdomen pelvic CT with IV contrast. This is after stabilization. So what do you think the most correct option? How do you invest? Do you want to investigate or you just want to send admit and observe? So let's look at the answer. So the answer is, we do know that this is definitely looks like abdominal injury. High index of abdominal injury should be suspected because of this bruising, and one should get an abdomen or pelvic CT with IV contrast. This is the diagnostic modality of choice. So this is a simple flow chart in a child with abdominal injury. So once you do a primary survey, if the child is hemodynamically stable, okay, so then any of the abdominal abrasion, bruising, distension, look out for all these signs which we have discussed. Don't worry about this one. I really don't know what it is. But if the child has got abdominal abrasion, tenderness, GCS is less than 15, yes, get a FAST. The ultrasound abdomen has become a hardcore in case, especially a bedside ultrasound abdomen and a core emergency medicine. So one should be aware of the FAST, the findings, how to do. I'll be dealing with the next couple of slides. So look out for the FAST. If the FAST is positive, just get a surgical consult and probably a CT scan most likely. Or if the child is hemodynamically unstable, then only you will rush through OR. operation room. If the fast is negative, then look out for hepatic enzymes, urine analysis, and hematocrit. If it is yes, definitely CT, abdomen and pelvis and IV contrast, then surgical consultation. So most likely, majority of our children do fall in this group rather than coming with a hemodynamically unstable. Definitely, if hemodynamically unstable, you have to stabilize these children and get a surgical consent as soon as possible. Stabilize them, possible get up fast, and then if it is positive, if you do have time, if the child is stable enough, then get a CT, otherwise rush him to operation room. So this is very clear. So primary survey, hemodynamically stable, or unstable. If hemodynamically stable, look out for any of these findings, get a fast immediately done, positive surgical consult. If it is negative, get the labs done and consider whether you need to move forward with CT, abdomen or IV contrast. So coming to imaging, abdominal radiograph should be assessed for evidence of free fluid. Very rarely we do that. In case if you happen to take a chest x-ray, ask them to do abdominal x-ray view as well. Okay, CT scan is the diagnostic modality of choice for all abdominal injury. Fast, as I said earlier, it has become a routine, hardcore of any emergency medicine. It should be done to confirm abnormalities in children, but it's very less helpful when negative. Very rarely all these other things are done, but one should also be aware for other trauma. So abdominal injury, as I said, fast CT scan, abdominal ultrasound and plain X-ray. So I'm sure you must have had a class on this fast focus assessment sonography in trauma with the various views, some E-fast, that extended fast, 6 views you are going to be seeing, right? Morrison's pose, Douglas pose, pericardial tamponade, any bladder injury. So various views. And yeah, so this is how it looks, how one identify a liver, a spleen, and this is your hepatorenal pouch. Look for any free fluid. Definitely there is a free fluid. So there is some amount of injury which is going on here. Then though fast is easy method, less non-invasive bedside assessment, but it is very, very less sensitive in an abdominal injury. So if in case if you happen to take a chest x-ray or including abdominal view, look for any, there are certain clues which one has to suspect abdominal trauma. A ground glass appearance, yes, any displacement of lateral part of the stomach, some obliteration of the psoas shadow, bleeding. Okay, so one should always look out for abdominal injuries. So like no completely ground glass appearance, no free fluid, look out for any free fluid or gas under the diaphragm. So as I said earlier, CT is the investigation of choice. CT with contrast, IV contrast. It is 95% sensitive and 99% specific, especially for detecting liver injuries. So this is a CT image where you can see the diffuse, the liver injury, altered echo structure, and this CT image where the CT and the rib fracture is what they say. So this is from ATLS. What they say is when CT evaluation is necessary, one should always keep in mind radiation must be kept as low as reasonably achievable to achieve lowest dose possible. Yes, for abdominal injury, one should go ahead and do a CT scan, but not as a routine for all trauma children. So what is the grading of liver injury on a CT scan? In fact, there are 6 gradings, but here there are 5 gradings which is mentioned. Grade 1, don't have to memorize, but just have to remember that there are 5 to 6 gradings. The grade 1 is less than 1 centimeter of depth of liver injury, less than 10% surface area. Grade 2, 1 to 3 depth, centimeter depth, and 10 to 50%. Grade 3 is, this is grade 2, grade 3 is more than 3 centimeter, more than 50%. Similarly, grade 4 and grade 4, 25 to 70% of hepatic disruption. Grade 5, 75%. And grade 6 is complete avulsion, hepatic avulsion. So what are the other laboratory tests or blood tests which you do in such children? So do complete blood count, do serial hematocrits, blood group, get a blood group and cross-match in case of occult bleeding or hemorrhagic shock. One may have to consider blood transfusion. Serum transaminases like AST and ALT should be done. Coagulation screen, urine analysis, and amylase and lipase. Coming to treatment and prognosis. most of the liver injuries, that is more than 80%, can be treated non-surgically. And blunt trauma relies only on hemodynamic stability rather than grading of injury. So many centers, I'm sure you must have had seen abdominal injury, but surgeons rarely do intervene because most of these children can be managed conservatively unless there is hemodynamic instability. And the mortality rate, this is what they have quoted in one of the journal of pediatric trauma and surgery, about 8%. But I'm not sure about this data because as such, abdominal injury and liver injury is not that uncommon and the mortality is very, very low. But one should be aware of the complication, which is close to 20% in non-operative treated liver trauma. So what are the complications? Any sort of rupture, peritonitis, intra-abdominal collection of the pus, intestinal blockage, and abdominal compartment syndrome. So what are the indications for immediate abdominal surgery? If there is any evidence of ongoing intra-abdominal hemorrhage, shock is not getting corrected after your resuscitation with fluids, crystalloids, and blood, one should suspect abdominal injury or a major vessel injury or a massive any hematoma and alert the surgeons to intervene here. Any evidence of hollow viscous perforation peritonitis? Yes, this is one of the indications I've mentioned, and evisceration. So as a pediatrician or as a PICU or a fellow, one should know the basic resuscitation of these children and what you're going to do. I'm sure ABCs should be done. So once you evaluate for surgical intervention, look for hemodynamic instability, hematocrit stable or falling, hematocrit stable or little low, hemorrhage might have stopped, continue hemorrhaging indicating a falling hematocrit. Transfuse these children and alert the surgeons. Probably, if the hemorrhage, intra-abdominal hemorrhage is continuing, laparotomy may be indicated, which is very, very rare. So, a couple of slides on abdominal compartment syndrome. So, trauma-associated abdominal compartment syndrome is not common, may occur following blunt injury or a burn injury. So, clinical features are if there is a blunt injury, and this child comes with distended abdomen with hemodynamic instability and organ dysfunction like renal failure, presenting as oliguria or anuria, metabolic acidosis, if the distress is worsening, abdomen is rigid, multiple organ failure is present, then one should suspect abdominal compartment syndrome. So, early recognition and management of intra-abdominal hypertension ACS are important to prevent progression to multi-organ dysfunction and death. Surgical management in case of progressive of IAH to ACS, that is intra-abdominal hypertension to ACS, early detection of new and organ dysfunction despite medical management, then one should consider surgery, which is very, very rarely done or rarely required in the form of decompressive laparotomy. So to summarize, trauma is the leading cause of death and disability in children. Liver is one of the most commonly injured intra-abdominal injury. Many a times, non-operative management is what is required by close monitoring of the hemodynamic status. If the child is hemodynamically stable, monitor these children, vital functions, hematocrit, and transaminases along with abdominal girth and abdominal examination. CT scan is the modality of choice with IV contrast for abdominal injury, more so with liver injury. Rarely, these children require surgical intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a crisp presentation in abdominal trauma. And I'll acknowledge this that, like you have said, it is mainstay should be on stabilization, and it is not a worrisome thing if hemodynamics are maintained and we have time. Yeah. There is one question regarding use of tranexamic acid in case of abdominal injury, specifically in liver. Any experience in PICU or any recommendations on that one?
See, Tranexer, the general indications are if there is any bleeding, especially major uncontrolled bleeding or bleeding. Yes, definitely. Particularly, this we use as a part of polytrauma protocol or massive transfusion protocol in all these children who require blood transfusion. And if there is any evidence of bleeding, yes, it should be given. If particularly liver injury, if there is derangement of coagulopathy, or if your ETA-PTT is deranged, And definitely, in such children, I have not used it though.
Okay.
But otherwise, any general indication of Tanexa in a traumatic children should be used.
Okay. Fine, ma'am. With that, we'll close the session. In case there will be questions, I'll be sharing them with you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
thank
your
you so much.
time. Thank you for teaching us.